I'm literally laying in bed at 6 a.m. and I had this thought, and it's been in my head. What do they do after we stop putting them on payroll? Were they ever on payroll for very long? Do they just do this in their free time because they are psychopaths?
This is the first episode. This is episode number 1 of Politics at the Tavern. I'm your co-host, Jesse, and this is Zach. Zach, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. In this episode, this is the episode where Jesse goes crazy and he puts red string up on a fucking wall and he acts like Charlie Day in Always Sunny in Philadelphia. It's a spectacular thing. It's a spectacular thing, Jesse.
Silva, what was the guy's name? Pepe Sylvia. And Always Sunny. That was such a good episode.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not going to get into it into the nuts and bolts of like every little thing that happened, at the rally that eventually unfolded into, this assassination attempt. But I think we should definitely just talk about the number of inconsistencies, irregularities that piled up to culminate into a successful assassination attempt of the former president of the United States by some Mimbo pot-shotting with an AR-15 style weapon, iron sights, 471 feet away.
It's insane. It's insane. There's no way that this wasn't planned. I mean, the government isn't that incompetent. Okay, I'll say that point blank. I won't beat around the bush, right? It either has to be a planned event or it has to be incompetence, right? It has to be, and no one is this incompetent. No. Nobody can make this many coincidences happen in one day. 1 or 2, whatever. 20? No.
And these aren't just coincidences. These are like cosmic coincidences. Stars were aligning in the solar system and the galaxy, right?
Yeah.
To make this happen. There's no way. Let's talk about some of them. Let's start off with the drone. So 351, Thomas Crooks is spotted. Well, I should say Thomas Crooks' drone is spotted. Yeah. Flying around the event. Just flying around, doing stuff.
Yeah.
Is this not just like a massive security failure just right there? Like right now, you have a drone flying over the event that Trump is going to be speaking at. Don't you just call it right there? Cancel everything and say, hey, we got a rogue drone that's not ours flying over the place. All stop. Find this operator.
And you have to ask yourself, how do they know that it wasn't theirs? Oh, that's because theirs is fucking broken?
That's right. Not only what was the name of that unit? The counter, like
ESU or something like that?
No, it's like the counter UAV team. They were actually on site to actually deal with the drones, right? And
they're the guys that survey and make sure that everything's the way it is.
2 different teams. You're talking about CSD. That there was an actual team.
Okay.
There was an actual Secret Service team that was there. Could be a team of 2, I don't know. But their job was to ensure that there were no other drones in the area, no other, aircraft in the area, unmanned aircraft. And then more importantly, to field their own in support of the event. That's why they were there. But cell phone service, their T-Mobile, their AT&T connectivity was not good enough for them to launch their drone. So they just didn't do it. Meh. No big deal. You know what's crazy? According to a whistleblower, the local law enforcement offered the use of their drone, to which the Secret Service declined.
Because why wouldn't you want to use any piece of equipment when yours was not working, when you have a job to do? Probably because you want to get drunk and fiddle with yourself or something. I don't know.
I don't get it. So that's very, very strange. So we have this anti-UAV team there without their own drones. Or I should say they have the drone, they just can't field it. Knowing that there was a drone in the area that they should have been addressing. Whereupon the local sheriff's department was like, use ours. And they're just like, nah, we're just going to scrap the whole thing. Bring out Trump. there's just no way, right? So this in and of itself is so strange for a professional security organization. The Senate, right, had a congressional hearing about this whole thing.
Multiples.
There's been many. And time again, this acting director Rowe is up there talking about how excellent and amazing the Secret Service is.
Same with Cheadle. She was doing the same thing. Oh,
They're
it's not our fault.
About it, so something like, as of like right now, I think the application to acceptance rate into the Secret Service is like 2%. So 2% out of every 100 people, they actually make it.
Oh yeah, but they're changing that with DEI, right?
They are. So they're making changes. But so I mean that's I look at that. That seems rather elite to me. Like that's 2%. That's a very small number.
It's that reason for, like, you have to have it for that for a specific reason, right? You have to have a very specific skill set to be able to do this job. You have to be tall. You have to be able to move people if they're down. Like, you can't just freaking grab a 4'8", 100-pound woman and expect her to guard the president. Like, yes, she could probably shoot well, but she cannot body block. She can't drag the president if he's been shot. Like, if her whole team is down and she's the last one standing and her job is to drag the president's body, it's not happening.
No.
Right? So you have to have these standards there for a very specific reason. It is not a sexism thing. It is a literal, like, hey, you need to be able to lift 50 pounds to work at this factory. Sorry.
Right. So we agree that it should be an elite job.
Yeah.
And then in this elite job, maybe cell phone coverage isn't an impedance because you are an exceptional individual that's able to work around, these technical difficulties.
Yeah. Like using work resources to borrow somebody else's drone.
It's literally like right there.
It's on site. You don't even have to do anything. It's there.
No, we'll do
it's waiting for you.
It was a DIY. You could take it or we could do it. And they're like, scrap the whole program because it's not.
We don't need drones.
We're not eating from it. Yeah. Stupid. Okay.
Coincidence number one, at least.
Oh, dude. Yeah. That was about 3:51. So we're talking like 2 hours prior to Trump taking the thing. This happens.
Yeah.
And interestingly, this actually comes up again in the hearing. So in the hearing, one of the senators, I think it was Senator, I can't remember his name, maybe Lee, asks, is some person in possession of a drone considered a threat? And his response was, maybe, it's suspicious. Okay. And then the senator follows up, well, could a drone be used to kill somebody else? And Rowe is like, yes. So is that not suspicion of threat? And he just kind of fumbled his words. And he just kind of word vomit a response. And it was unsatisfactory, to say the least. Anywho, this all is leading somewhere in this hearing that we're going to... I have a video for it. We'll play it in a bit. But
let's roll back. Let's roll back, Jesse. Let's roll back to 9 a.m. Right?
Okay.
We got 9 a.m. rolling in.
Yeah.
Secret Service is supposed to meet with all of the local law enforcement, right? Yeah. They're a no-show. They're a no-show to their own meeting, where they set up comm lines, where they set up expectations with the local guys, where they set up the whole foundation for the security of this event.
So this is
fucking no-show.
This is the morning of the rally. 9 a.m. This is the meeting to kickstart everything. Make sure everybody's in position. Answer any questions. Make sure everybody knows where the local toiletry locations are so that they can go do their business. It's literally everything is happening at the 9 a.m. They already know where they're supposed to be. They've already had those pre-briefings. They understand the AOR, all the various sectors that are mapped out, areas of interest, things like that. But this is the meeting where they're going to come together one last time and then break, right? Before they actually go out to do their thing. Washington County, ESU, Beaver County, Butler County, State Police, all in attendance. No Secret Service.
Four departments, no Secret Service.
No Secret Service. And for everybody who is listening, the Secret Service is responsible for these events. They are responsible for their VIP, for the person that they're protecting, not local law enforcement. Local law enforcement supports them, right? They're there to serve. So the fact that the Secret Service was not in attendance of this meeting, where Washington County, Beaver County, Butler County, and state police were all chilling, waiting for direction, is telling. Again, another coincidence. Sprinkle that in there.
We've got a lot. There's a lot of sprinkles.
Dude, we do. Yes. There's a lot of sprinkles. That is for damn sure.
It's out of control.
There's a great picture of the cops in the AGR building. So kind of recapping here, kind of what happened, right? So Thomas Crooks, he climbs on top of the AGR building. It's about 470 feet away from the stage, from Trump specifically. Okay. He manages to make his way to the top of the roof and then shoots from there, right? From there to hit Trump. In that building that he was on top of were several local cops. Okay. Just local LE. They were aware of Crooks. They've been talking about him since 3:50 or something like that, 4:00 in the afternoon. At some point,
something like 90 minutes before Trump even got on stage.
Yes, they were aware of this guy. Crooks walked right by the window that these cops were in. Okay.
Yeah.
2 cops, a window.
Yeah.
He walks by. He doesn't just walk by. He stops. He settles for a moment to adjust. He's looking at his phone. He's examining his rangefinder. He is busy, right, plotting this assassination.
Yeah.
The cops are right there looking out the window and they see him. Nothing happens. I think they texted. They're like,
they sent
Secret
a picture.
Service.
They sent a picture out to their chat group, which the Secret Service probably wasn't even paying attention to.
They whipped out their Nokias and T9'd some information with their one big thumb into the signal chat, into the SMS with the accompanying photo saying, hey, here's your guy. But it's hot outside. There's air conditioning here.
Yeah.
I can't do that. I can't leave.
Yeah. Yeah, on top of the sloped roof bullshit that Cheadle was coming up with, that team was supposed to have 3 people in it. One of the guys went home sick, and so they were already down. And do they backfill? No. We can go with 2 people. Instead of standing on the roof like they were supposed to, they were like, man, we'll just chill in this air-conditioned office instead.
That is the report. That is what we've heard. That 2 people were, or at least 1 person was supposed to be on that roof.
Yeah.
But Zach, it was too hot. It's Butler County. It's July 13th. Okay. Yeah. It's 1,000,000 degrees outside. There's no clouds. It's just sun.
Yeah. It was beautiful. It was a beautiful blue day.
It's a beautiful blue day. But listen, do you understand how radiation works? It's going to hit that tin roof and it's going to bounce back up. Okay. Yeah. So you're getting attacked by the sun in 2 opposite directions.
I do.
You got to go inside.
I do.
You have to go inside. There's no other choice, right?
Yeah.
It's just President Trump. That's all it is. And you're hot.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's had, something like 150 rallies before this, and nothing bad has ever happened.
No.
It's not like he's the leading presidential candidate to win this cycle.
Exactly.
No. It's not like Iran doesn't have a death threat out on him for the last 4 years.
Right.
That hasn't changed since Soleimani's death.
That was longer, right? Is it 4 years? We should look this up.
I think it's been longer. It has been longer. It's been longer than 4 years.
It's hard to believe that we've already had an entire
presidential cycle
between Trump then and Trump now. It's time is flying.
It is.
Yeah. Thank you, COVID.
I mean, yeah. Seems like 2020 came around and it's like been 1 year. One stupid fucking year.
I personally loved the quarantine. Okay. For ladies and gentlemen, you don't know me, I am a nerd's nerd. If you give me a computer, access to the internet, Mountain Dew, and Doritos, I will survive indefinitely. Okay. So you're telling me, yes. So I can't go into the office anymore. The company that I work for is like mandatory work from home. Do not bring the COVID in and kill everybody. So stay at home. Don't get it yourself, please. I'm like, deal. Okay. And I literally, the whole, how long were we quarantined? 9 months, a
You
year, something like
guys,
that?
you guys were quarantined for like a year and a half up there in Washington.
It went by like that.
I wasn't ever quarantined. Like I was out in North Dakota for the first year, and it was like we don't give a fuck about that. And then I came back to Idaho right at the ass end, and we wore masks for like 4 months at school.
Yeah. I managed to do some significant rating in World of Warcraft. I got to platinum in League of Legends. Okay. I got numerous accolades and awards at work for being such a badass employee because I would literally just wake up and roll to my laptop at like 7 a.m. and I could just start working, banging out emails and whatever it is I'm doing.
Yeah.
The best era of my life. Now, you know my wife, Brittany.
Yeah.
She is not a person to be cooped up.
No.
That poor woman. I'm telling you, we're the exact opposite. She's a social butterfly. I am in the chrysalis, and I do not want to leave. She did not do well. Poor thing. Goodness. All right. Well, another interesting thing is so minutes before Crooks actually takes the shot, right? There is all this video evidence from the crowd that's kind of surrounding the AGR building. There's all these people surrounding the building. They're running at this point because they know that Crooks is on top of the roof with a gun. They're running away. A whole bunch of people recording it. Everybody's pointing and yelling.
Yeah, I mean, 80% of this was happening. The crowd didn't panic. They were like, dude, there's a dude with a gun on this roof.
Yes.
Like, it's insane to see a crowd act like that when there's an active shooter on a roof.
They were very, very calm. There's actually, anyway, so this video, some of these videos, no, you're good. This is the whole point. But these videos all show one thing. There was a bazillion cops there. One of the bazillion cops managed to get almost on top of the roof. They found Crooks. Crooks shifted, pointed his gun at this dude. The cop just went, ee, and let go of the ladder, fell back, and hurt himself. That was it. The one cop went up there. Of the other 25 cops that were there, nobody else decided to go up to stop this guy. Just the one. That was good enough for local law enforcement. They tried. Yeah.
Best effort. It was a real Uvalde situation.
Yeah. Anyway, to Zach's point, even when the shots started ringing out, yes, you do hear the classic, scared scream in the background, as you would everywhere. But for the most part, if you look at the crowd just kind of hunkers down.
Yeah.
While maintaining video surveillance of Thomas Crooks on that roof. They do a really good job.
It's spectacular.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know who did not do a good job?
Secret Service.
So let's talk about the Secret Service. The Hercules snipers that were sitting on top of the little farms, the barns that were just behind Trump. Now, I think those were actually local law enforcement. I don't think they were Secret Service. I think
no. Those I don't think they were Secret Service either.
Yeah, so they're both sitting up there.
I think they were Army or something like that were sent to the Secret Service to work for them, I believe.
I'm not sure. But regardless, the Hercules, actually, I think they were Secret Service. And I look at it because they're designated SS Hercules snipers. So these snipers are up there, and there's so many good videos of the one team on the north end of the building on the north farm where they're looking. The guy is clearly looking at something through his scope. So he's on top of this building. He's looking at something, and you can see him doing the whole head thing. He's like, he sees with his naked eye, then he pops back down to the optics, and then back and forth and back and forth. He's engaged in something. And the shots ring out, and he just jumps.
He's like, oh.
Jumps. He jumps and repositions his fucking tripod that the gun is on top of. And then shoots.
Yeah. And I want to point out something here, as your mind is being melted by that thought process, right? This is the first time that counter-snipers have been deployed to Trump security. In all of the time that he's been doing these rallies, this is the very first time that he has had counter-sniper support on his security.
Dear listener, let that sink in. 4 days prior to this.
Another coincidence.
4 days prior to this, he was in Miami, Florida, doing a mega rally. No Countersniper team. No Countersniper team in the history of Trump rallies.
When he was in New York, going through all of those trials, walking around the streets of New York, into bodegas to meet people, no countersnipers. And the director at the time, I believe, said the reason that they added countersnipers to his team is because they had a threat from Iran, which still hasn't changed since Soleimani's death 5 years ago.
Ridiculous.
Okay. Right.
And appreciate that Butler County is a town, or is a county rather, of 13,000 people. It's a tiny town. It's so small. Why would you suddenly send a countersniper team to Butler, Pennsylvania? It doesn't make any sense.
Unless, nothing's changed. Nothing's changed.
Unless they had credible evidence that there might be some sort of person trying to snipe Trump. Then send a counter sniper team. Or better yet, don't host the rally. Tell Trump, by the way, we're getting too many reports that there's this crazy guy out there. He wants to snipe you in the face. Maybe don't do this one. Skip to the next town.
Or, move 2 miles to a different location that hasn't been vetted. Yeah. Someplace indoors.
Yep. Because they announced, so Trump announced that he was going to do a rally at Butler, PA, in that venue 10 days prior to the event. So Crooks was there, I think a week before, 8 days, something like that, before the event, surveying everything. Anyhow.
I mean, you could put Trump on a soapbox and he could make a show.
Totally.
The location doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
Nope. But it's more of like the fact that it was publicly known that Trump was going to be there, giving everybody opportunities to go do the things that they wanted to do.
Yeah.
So back to the sniper team on top of that roof. My point is this. If you watch any of the videos, by the way, all the videos that we're referencing, all the stuff that we're talking about is going to be in the description. If you're listening to this on YouTube, it's going to be in the description of the video. If you're not listening to this on YouTube and you're listening to it on your favorite podcast platform, you can go to youtube.com/politics at the tavern and you'll find it. This is episode 1. We have a pilot and we have episode 1 and you'll find it there. So all of these details are going to be there for you to go check out and review for yourself. But so what we learned from the Senate hearing, Zach, is that this particular counter-sniper team that we're talking about, the sniper, the guy actually pulling the trigger, is apparently a crazy veteran. He's been doing this for a long time, and is known very well within the Secret Service community of being like a crack shot, crazy iron, just iron-willed dude.
Yeah.
Yet, all the video evidence suggests that he was barrel down, sights on target.
Yeah.
Thomas Crooks specifically. Thomas Crooks was still able to take 5 shots before this guy got off 1. If this guy is so good as everybody is saying that he is, how? Why didn't he take the shot?
Yeah. I mean, you would have thought maybe that would have been covered maybe at the 9 a.m. briefing. Somebody shoots at Trump. You don't ask questions, you shoot.
I think that was one of the things, that was one of the arguments I was hearing.
I think that's maybe like he might not had, because I remember when we were doing operations in the Coast Guard, you had to get permission to fire a lot of the time. Right. So maybe, there was a split second where he didn't hear a command word that was allowing him to fire. I will give him the benefit of the doubt that it might not have been his fault that he didn't shoot the moment he saw a threat.
There is positively no way that if your job is to protect the president and you see somebody aiming a gun at that dude's head, that you don't take the shot. There's no way. You don't say, hey,
that's how I would run it too. That's how I would run it too.
Yes. But I think you're right. The argument has been surfaced that there has been some sort of command delay between him, requesting permission to take the shot and then him actually taking the shot, which resulted in Crooks getting 5 bullets off at Trump. But
if that's the case, that's probably another coincidence that we can add to the list.
Right.
I don't know.
It is right. So this may not be a coincidence, but it's an inconsistency.
It is
in protocol and execution.
Which, that could be chalked up to incompetence. That could be shock value. What do you mean somebody shot at Trump? Shoot him.
Right.
I don't know. That thought process took me 2 seconds to say, so maybe that's how long it took.
But he was looking at him. If you watch the video,
I know.
it's like 40
I know.
seconds of this video of him looking at Crooks, not doing anything.
Yeah.
Also, there's another video that came out a few days ago that was actually coming from somebody in the stands looking out. It might have actually been from one of the Fox cameras, actually, looking at the AGR building. And you can actually see Crooks just kind of casually walking from point to point on top of that roof. Just going back and forth.
Sloped roof that was dangerous as hell. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, he's just chilling. Isn't there a video of him running?
That would be the video.
Moving? Oh, okay.
He wasn't like
he was
hauling
moving.
ass.
Yeah, he wasn't
jogging.
sprinting. Yeah, he was moving quickly. He wasn't army crawling, that's for sure.
No, he didn't do that till the very end.
Yeah. He had to test out the structural integrity of the roof, make sure it's safe.
Yes.
Before he army crawled up.
Nope. So we're talking about inconsistencies. We haven't talked about. So normally during these events, okay, the Secret Service deploys what's called a CSD, a counter surveillance division. They come to these events, they do aerial surveillance, they take a look at the grounds, they look at where all the buildings are, high trees, water towers, whatever it might be, wherever somebody could get a shot off at where Trump is going to be doing his presentation, right, his rally. And they show up, they do an entire assessment of the area, and they make all the recommendations that the local LE and Secret Service will follow to ensure that they properly secure the area. Well, guess who wasn't at the rally, Zach? CSD. Yeah. Apparently, by direct direction of the now interim director of the SS, the Secret Service. Apparently, he says, "No, we don't need you guys here. Don't go." Again, they go every other time, but not at the Butler, PA rally.
Because they would have been like, this roof here, that's got a perfect line of shot to the stage, 470 feet away. Definitely need people on top of that roof. I mean, yes. I've watched a lot of videos of people who used to be snipers, people that have actually been to that site in Butler, Pennsylvania, and they have said that and the water tower were the two places that they would be taking shots from.
Yes.
Yep. So.
And the Director Rao blamed local law enforcement for the lack of people on the AGR roof. He was asked, why weren't there anybody on there? Why wasn't anybody on there, Director? And his response was, we were told, this is literally quote, we were told locals got it. Listen, just if Zach, if we go on the Wayback Machine and one of your E3s, one of your E4s in the Coast Guard, right, that you maybe don't know that well, just said, hey, I got it. I did the thing. Don't worry about it. Would you not trust but verify?
Oh, yeah. I'd trust the shit out of that and then verify it.
Right. Yes. We have a very good friend. I will give you one example. This might be my favorite example of all time. Okay. Of trust but verify. Zach and I are serving in the same unit, an electronic support unit. And one of the junior ITs, he's got nothing to do. We get a ticket comes in, a server on one of our cutters is malfunctioning. It's having issues. Yeah. Okay. The cutter crew is having problems with accessing files and emails and things like that. So we're like, Petty Officer so-and-so, please take your tool bag, head up to the cutter and figure out what's going on with this server. I need you to take a look at it. I think those were the exact words you used. Take a look at the server. I think we went to lunch. We came back. The petty officer had not yet returned. We didn't see him at lunch. Yeah. We didn't know what happened. So we're like, okay, we need to go investigate. Something is awry. The two of us pick up and haul off to the cutter just to go support. He was like, hey, this guy's a junior dude. We've been doing this a little bit longer. Let's give him some help. We show up, and I can't remember exactly. I believe he was crouched in front of the server looking at it.
He was.
With his eyes.
He was.
And when you asked, Petty Officer so-and-so, what are you doing? And he said, I'm following your orders. I'm looking at the server.
There doesn't seem to be anything wrong with it that I can tell.
Dude.
And then he was like, but I don't know how to restart it.
I literally raised my hands like this. I turned around and I left because I was not going to be able to handle it. For anybody who's ever looked at any equipment ever and had to go examine anything digital, you don't just go look at it. You don't just look at a computer and expect the computer to bark out what's wrong. You have to do a little bit of technical evaluations. You log in, you do work, you get on the keyboard, you move the mouse. This dude was literally waiting. I think he was looking at the front.
He didn't even press his finger to the power button. I know you're not supposed to do that to the server, but I mean, for like, if you were like up Shit's Creek and you needed to reset this thing.
Right.
I mean, he didn't do anything.
Dude.
For 3 hours. 2 hours.
Yeah. It was like 2 hours minimum. And then we show up, dude. I had a hearty laugh. That was a good time. I had to walk away because
it still hurts my heart.
I was like, normally I'm patient. I have some patience. Okay. I had none at that point. I had 0 and I was going to lose it. All right. So I just left. I was like, pay after. I have a Hauser, all yours. I'm leaving.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's basically what's happened here. Okay. Is local Ellie went to go look at the server and the Secret Service is like, yeah, they got it.
Yeah, it's fine. We don't need to verify anything.
No.
It's not our liability. It's like they were acting like it's not, they don't have ownership of it, that there's no liability. Nothing's going to blow back at them from this,
right?
Their absolute incompetence at doing their job.
Right.
Yep. I mean, that is a terrible mindset for anybody doing any kind of a job. And to have something as important as protection detail for the president of the United States, future, past tense, whatever, that is terrifying. It is terrifying.
It really is. I mean, the senators would agree with you.
We're supposed to be like a global power, Jesse, in the United States of America. We are supposed to be a premier global power. And we got a bunch of people running around with their fingers in their ass, making us all look stupid with this kind of attitude.
No, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous.
It's awful.
Yep. When asked, so one of the senators asked Roe directly, right? Why didn't you yank Trump off the stage? Why did you let him take the stage? There's all this stuff going on. Had the thought not occurred to you that you should probably assess the situation and neutralize whatever's happening, contain it before letting him take the stage? And his response was, and I took the quote exactly because it's so crazy. He looks the senator right in the eyes and says, "Suspicion had not risen to the level of threat or imminent harm." He follows this statement by bracing for impact. He sucks his face in, right? He presses his lips up against his teeth, and he sits there like he's about to get whacked in the face with a ruler for saying kind of one of the most bold-faced lies possibly in the entire hearing.
It's not a good face. It's, as my buddy would put it, it's the dude looks like he's about to make dolphin sounds, and if you are not familiar with that, it is yes. Anyways, the dolphin sound is where someone puts it in the wrong hole and they make a sound.
Yes, that's exactly what it looks like.
It's not good. It's not good. It's not good. It's not good.
Nope. What we have all this communication that's happening. So video evidence, just crazy amount of video evidence that demonstrates the local law enforcement were well aware of Crooks. Okay. But for whatever reason, none of them engaged. There's no real excuse for that, except for that Secret Service had not given them the command to engage. That would possibly be the only reason why they would not go and apprehend the suspect. Okay. So people ask, well, was there a communication breakdown? The senators asked that. Is there a communication breakdown? And Director Rowe was like, yes, there was a communication breakdown. Everybody was using text. Nobody was on the radio. Well, local law enforcement said that they were using the radio. And I would not expect local law enforcement, all those 4 different counties, to be all on the exact same channel. And I would not expect them to be on the same frequency as the Secret Service. 2 different units, 2 different sets of operation gear. Totally get it. Understood. They would not be on the same frequencies. However, there was a command tent, at the event where kind of local law enforcement command and Secret Service command was operating the entire event. Somebody from local law enforcement with such a mic, a radio, was in that building listening to all the chatter. So the idea of Rowe telling us, the American people, that they were not in direct conversation, over radio, sure, possibly, but somebody with local LE comms on their shoulder was in that command structure talking with the Secret Service crew. I don't buy it. Personally.
I have sat in a radio room with comms with multiple channels going and directed communications. I have done this job personally, and it's not that fucking hard. It can be stressful when multiple channels are going off at the same time and you're trying to relay messages. It can get very stressful. But for the most part, it's not that fucking hard to listen to 9 or 10 channels and then get the information to where it needs to go first, fastest. So
one of the first jobs
that's pretty terrible.
Yeah,
it's pretty terrible.
One of the first jobs we have in the Coast Guard as an enlisted personnel, if you end up at a small boat station or a cutter, is manning communications. That's literally one of the first responsibilities you're given. You're trained. Yeah. You sit in on all the watches. You go through all the material. You get all the training you need. But you sit in, and then you start conducting and manning and the communications. I remember when I was in Station Coos Bay, a small boat station down there, notorious for its really, really terrible weather. We had to be in constant communication with all the vessels that were transitioning to and from the bar. That is the inlet for folks to come into the Coos River from the ocean and vice versa. And that right outside the bar, waves would be crazy, right? 18, 20-foot steep waves that would just totally knock out any sort of smaller commercial vessel. And so we had to communicate with them. And we would be talking to all sorts of people on all sorts of different channels. And it was stressful, like you said, but we did it. And whenever there was a problem, we would dispatch the closest available Coast Guard asset to go, tow somebody or do a rescue or something like that, whatever we need to do.
Yeah.
20-year-olds are doing this. 18-year-olds are doing this.
18-year-olds are doing this.
Yes.
Flawlessly. So.
Anywho, I was also not impressed with Rowe's testimony, as he just was kind of low key, just stomping all over local LE and the work. Did not do.
He's not letting the buck stop with him.
No, he passed it right along.
He was like, nah, dude, that was some other dude's problem. There's a bunch of finger pointing. There's no accountability at all. No accountability. And then they're asking for months for a proper investigation to go through.
Yes.
I mean, it's pretty wild, to be honest with you. I can't imagine acting this way and not getting fired.
Senator Grassley was able to put together a timeline. Okay, it's actually the timeline that I'm going to post here. It's literally, he was able to put together a timeline. The FPOTUS, After Action Beaver County assessment report here. He put it together, and he's a senator.
He's also 92. I'm sure somebody else put it together for him, but I mean,
his team did it.
Yeah.
We still do not have a timeline from the Secret Service. They're still under investigation. They need to figure it out. They don't know what happened. They don't know who was there. When asked, Rowe refused to give any names of who was the operation commander, who was actually leading this incident. Nope, he wouldn't say, because there's a lot of malfeasance happening in the Secret Service right now, and he does not want to bring any of that to light.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about a second shooter?
I do. I got a text message from Jesse at 2 a.m. my time, 3 a.m. my time. I obviously did not wake up to it. I have my shit on silent for very specifically for these reasons. not just from Jesse, but like I don't want to receive a 2 a.m. text message talking about a second shooter. And this is like something that I have been bringing up in conversation, just, why can't there be a second shooter? There's eyewitness testimony on the ground within an hour of Trump being shot from 3 eyewitnesses that saw people on the water tower. Anything from 1 dude to 2 people, and also ziplining down from the water tower. And the water tower is the same distance roughly. Am I wrong in that? It's roughly the same distance as the AGR building.
Twice as far. It's twice as far.
Oh, twice as far. Sorry.
Yep.
So,
but it's close though.
900 feet. 900 feet.
781 feet from the water tower to Trump.
So almost double.
Yep.
The AGR building. And when you're watching all these videos online, and you have to ask yourself, when snipers are saying this is the best spot to take a shot from, you've got the AGR building roof, you've got the water tower, both have really clean lines of sight to the stage, and neither one of them were safeguarded. I don't know. That's pretty stupid. It's pretty incompetent.
So easy to put a cop at the base of the water tower.
You could have meter maid. You could have a meter maid with a radio at the base of those. I mean, if you are having personnel problems, you could have anybody with a radio. You could put a 10-year-old kid with a radio there and say, if anybody tries to climb this ladder, give us a little shout out.
Right. And we're not suggesting that well, at least I don't think you're suggesting necessarily that there's yet another like unknown shooter coming from this spot. I think this is where we're starting to get into the conspiracy.
This is where we're getting into the conspiracy theories.
Yes,
I mean, because almost every single time the CIA has waxed a president, there's been a second shooter.
Oh yeah, certainly with JFK, right?
Grassy knoll stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying it's in the realm of possibility.
So here's what's really, really interesting, and this is why the second shooter narrative is really, really critical to follow. Whether or not you want to believe it or not, there's just plenty of evidence that came out of that particular moment that really clearly demonstrates that there was a second shooter. The first one was like what Zach was saying. There's so much eyewitness testimony the moments following that shooting from Fox and other news agencies who were just talking to locals in the crowd who had something to say. And there was at least 3 videos that have circulated, who have made it public, of people saying that they saw a second shooter, or they saw somebody rather, up at the water tower. And it looked like they were ziplining off of it, immediately following the shooting. 3 people don't just come up with this, randomly. This is in that moment. You're thinking very, very quickly, but you're not just making bullshit up. So it's very easy to take them at the word that they saw somebody on the water tower.
Yeah.
And the other interesting thing is in the initial finding, the first cop that went on top of the AGR building to see Crook kind of lying there right after he got killed. He goes up there and he does an inventory of everything that he sees on the roof. He sees Crooks. He sees his gun, right? You see the remote detonator, just the remote detonator trigger thingy, right? That remote control. And he counts 5 casings. Shortly after, I'm not sure how long, another cop shows up, goes up on top of the roof, and counts 8 casings. Where did the extra 3 come from? And more importantly, why would you need an extra 3? Why would they need to show that there was actually 8 casings on that roof, not just the 5 that was initially counted? And this is why the second shooter narrative is so critical here to follow. Because if you have a second shooter, and that second shooter took 3 shots but you want to make sure that that narrative is shut down as soundly as possible. You ensure that 8 casings total are found on top of that roof.
Yeah.
That's what that officer was doing. The second officer was doing anyway up there with that count.
I want to take a crack. I want to take a crack at this 20-year-old shooter thought process, right?
Sure.
So the reason that a second shooter makes more sense to me than Thomas Crooks being the shooter, other than just a unfortunate patsy placed on a roof as low-hanging fruit, is that this 20-year-old somehow miraculously had enough training to make a shot at 470 feet with iron sights. 5.56 round ammo, 1,500. It's like $700, right? I think me and Jesse looked up a stat that if you wanted to get to the point where you could make a bullseye shot on your first fucking attempt, you'd have to be intimately familiar with your weapon. You would need at least 1,000 hours of training on that weapon, right? For those of you who don't do math well, that's 40 hours a day for 25 weeks of training. That's a lot. That's a lot of training. So this 20-year-old training for 1,000 hours, he would need $160,000, $170,000 in bullets.
That's right. The math is that.
He's a college student. You're looking at $170,000 in bullets and 1,000 hours of training. I mean, he's going to class. He's going to college class. Like, I went to college. I didn't have any free time.
No. And also, mind you, this is 1,000 hours of training all up, but a significant part of that training has to be at long range, at over 100 yards. Yes, because shots. So typically, especially if in the military, right, or you do any sort of police academy, you might shoot out to 75 yards.
Maybe.
In basic, that's the furthest you're going to go, because after 75 yards, especially after 100 yards, you have to deal with bullet drop, significant bullet drop. And when you are shooting out at that kind of range, your rifle needs a scope, some sort of magnification on it. And on that scope, you're going to have some sort of mil dot system, and you're going to have some tool, or you're going to have some knobs and whatnot to adjust that sight for you. So you know that your target is 150 yards out. You make the appropriate adjustments that moves the scope up slightly, so that when your crosshairs are on your target, the compensation is already kind of built into that flight path. Okay, so you just have to aim exactly where you want to shoot, and you pull the trigger, bam, target goes down. With iron sights, you have no magnification. You have no ability to adjust that mil dot, because such a mil dot does not exist. So now you have to make that adjustment yourself, meaning you're going to have to raise that barrel, meaning you're going to raise it over the target. So once you have that iron sight locked on your target, now you need to raise it up and pull the trigger. You're going to not actually see your target at that point. If you're looking down the iron sights, you will lose sight of your target when you pull that trigger. And apparently this dude shot 8 times, right? So no wonder he didn't hit anything, because he couldn't see anything. There's just no way. There's only a few people that I personally know that can make that shot. And one of them would be my grandfather, who was a Marine sniper, who all he did from when he was a little boy growing up in the 30s, all the way to the end of his life, he lived and breathed with a rifle in his hand. That's all he did. He shot and shot and shot and shot and shot. And that guy could make that. Thomas Crooks does not look like the kind of individual that has this kind of specialty training.
I've asked around, and I was like, could you make this shot? I think there's one person that said that maybe they could make that shot.
On the first try.
That's the thing. On your first try. Like, you don't get to do a little bit of a pop, changing fucking sight in your scopes. You don't get to make an adjustment shot. You get one try with an assassination. You have to be really good at what you do if you're going to be doing this. And he's 20 years old. The guy, I hate to say it, he did not look like the type of guy that spent all of his days at the range. When you look at pictures, modern pictures of Thomas Crooks,
No,
right?
he was a nerd.
He looked like he spent his days on a Reddit channel.
Yes,
you know,
he was, from his teachers and his friends and the other, people that knew him. He was quiet, reserved, polite. Nothing flagged as interesting or alarming. He was just an average kid. He built his own computer, just like you and I have, right? Just nerdy guy. Yes, he had a passion for guns. He was a gun club. He went to a gun club to shoot, but that wasn't his full-time job. That wasn't his full-time passion. The kid was in college, studying, doing other things, right? Yeah. This was just one of his outlets. So to suggest that he was able to acquire by the time he was 20, 1,000 hours of training, resulting in roughly 150K, 160, 70K of ammo to make sure to pay for the ammo to test, to do all the training, is an elaborate stretch of the imagination, to say the least.
And maybe he went in there unprepared. Maybe he thought, yeah, I could do this, and he just went in there.
Yeah.
But that kind of mindset is foreign to me, because like, if you're going to go in there to do a job, you do a job. You get it done. You don't just hope you get lucky and you peg the fucking president. Yeah,
exactly.
That doesn't cross my mind.
No.
So, and another thing that makes me doubt that this 20-year-old was the shooter, right? He has explosive expertise now. He was able to turn a garage opener into explosives, and he had his car wired up with explosives. And his car was small. It wasn't a big car, and he got this huge ladder to the rally somehow. That morning, he bought a ladder at Home Depot because they found a Home Depot receipt in one of his pocket. Yeah.
Yep. 5-foot ladder. Yep.
I mean,
so he had.
it was only a 5-foot ladder.
Yeah.
It looked like it looked like a 10-foot. Easy.
Probably when you extend it. It was 5 feet. Like the ladder itself, when shrunk down, was 5 feet when it was collapsed.
I gotcha. But still, I mean, all of this, and then when they go and do the investigation into his house to see, how he's been living, what materials he's got in his house, he's got no utensils for eating. Like, there's no silverware. There's no, the house is clean. Like, it had just been rented that month for the first time. Like, that doesn't seem right. When I was 20 years old, I was a slob. There's beer cans all over the place. Dishes in the sink. Like, it was well lived in.
Right.
So
there's,
I don't know.
There's a lot of some other stuff that goes with this second shooter theory too. If you look at some of the videos that were caught of people in the crowd getting hit by bullets, you see one shot specifically where along the back of the bleachers of the bleachers, kind of like furthest away from Cooks, there's 2 people in the back, right? One person gets hit, and then you can see the bullet ricocheting off the kind of like the railing of the back end of that bleacher. And if you were to draw a line from that person to where you see the bullet kind of like, ricocheting, and you follow that line all the way out, it's coming from the direction of the water tower.
When it ricochets, it hits a second person, does it not? If I remember correctly,
it goes cool. You can see a guy reacting to it. I don't think it hits him. I think it's like, oh shit.
Because if I remember correctly, 2 people got hit by the same bullet in the back row in that trajectory that you're talking about.
Yeah.
So I'll have to look into that again.
Yeah. And so, but if we allow ourselves a moment to go down the rabbit hole, okay? So we know Crooks shot 5 bullets. Those 5 bullets did not hit Trump. If you're looking through the iron sights, down the iron sights that Crooks is looking at, you probably can't really, you can see Trump, but once you raise your iron sights up to him, he's going to be kind of gone. So you're just kind of taking shots, and those bullets are going to hit people in the vicinity. All right, so they're hitting people in the audience. So if Crooks didn't shoot Trump, and somebody from the water tower did, who was that person? And where'd they come from? Why were they allowed to be there? Why was the security so bad that they were allowed to go up this water tower and take the shot in the first place? And then how does this all come together? And it seems to me that it's design. I think we're looking at design here. We have Crooks taking manic shots at the president. We have this clean line of sight from unguarded water tower, 781 feet away from where Trump's standing, to Trump. I think we just put one and one together. We account for all the eyewitness testimony showing where people saw people on top of that water tower, and people literally, repelling from that water tower, ziplining,
getting off the water tower by not climbing the freaking ladder down. So that means they very have already staged.
Yes.
Whichever way that they left.
Oops. My
camera. I lost you.
A moment. It's okay. Just keep talking. But
technical difficulties. So, we live in with all of this stuff, right?
Yeah.
You have to ask yourself, what other inconsistencies, what other coincidences happen to be there? You see Truth Social being shorted the day before this rally by Austin Private Wealth. And these guys are a subsidiary of BlackRock, who, surprise, surprise, owns basically everything. So that could be a nothing burger or whatever. But 12 million shares, they shorted them. And they're like, oh, it's just a typo. It's just a typo. At $38 a share, I mean, those guys stood to make billions of dollars if Trump got assassinated that day on the 13th.
Yes.
And it's kind of mind-blowing to me that people haven't been digging into stuff like this, because a lot of people's motivations for money. You get power from money.
Right.
So this is like a clear indication that it was premeditated, that somebody knew something was going to happen to Donald Trump the day before, at minimum, on this rally. Another thing that we can look at is CNN. They're live streaming this for the very first time they've ever live streamed Donald Trump, that I can tell. I mean, they don't like Donald Trump. They don't appreciate his spontaneity. The fact that he talks, they don't appreciate. And so they don't want to live stream it because they don't want him to say something that they don't agree with and not be able to censor it or turn him off. But today, July 13th, that day, they're live streaming him. I mean, that's weird. It is incredibly odd that that's the day that they choose to live stream Donald Trump, right? They weren't anticipating anything big. It was a routine day. There was no teasers like, hey, I'm going to announce my vice president today. There was no reason for them to live stream Donald Trump on that day.
No.
Okay. None. Have they live streamed him since? No, they have not. I'm going to say that, even though I don't have any evidence yet, I'm still digging into it. I'm going to say even during the RNC, they did not live stream him.
So let's just repeat this again, because it's so strange, and yet another one of these cosmic coincidences of the day. All right, we have the first one that we talked about. Trump never had a Countersniper team until Butler PA's rally on J13.
Yeah.
The CSD, Counter Surveillance Division, is at every single rally except for this one.
Yeah.
Suddenly not there. And now CNN, after 10 years of Trump rallies, okay, takes this rally. This is the rally that they're going to use to start airing Trump rallies. This is the one.
Live.
A town of live. Yes, live. For the whole thing was aired live. They have never done that previously. What CNN typically does is they take clips that they can then use to fit a narrative that they want to portray of Trump, right? They'll take a section of word salad and put that up there and say, hey, look, you can't even form a coherent sentence, right? Of the one time he slipped up on a word over after talking for 90 minutes. This is the
or they
things
give
they
him
do.
like a 2-minute delay or something like that, so they can
Right.
filming. Shut the cameras off. He's about to be an idiot.
Right.
You know?
So anyway, 10 years. This is the day CNN decides that they're going to start airing Trump rallies. What happened 5 days previously, or 4 days previous to this, to the small Butler, Pennsylvania rally, a mega rally in Miami, Florida, where everybody was showing up because there was thoughts that Trump was going to announce Marco Rubio, who was also in attendance, as his VP pick. Everybody showed up. All the news agencies were there, CNN included. They all streamed it live, except for CNN. Even in that instance, CNN did not air it live because it breaks their policy, their anti-Trump policies.
Yeah.
But Butler, Pennsylvania, that's the line in the sand that they decided to draw. Why?
Yeah. That's the day. That's the day.
Well, Zach, there is a little something called Project Mockingbird that was uncovered in 1976. If we go in the Wayback Machine, okay, so we go back to the Cold War, the height of the Cold War, early 70s, right? A bunch of senators in their various oversight committees, especially the Intelligence Oversight Committee, were getting really sick and tired of the intelligence agencies, specifically the CIA, going off and doing all this clandestine shit without any oversight. It was their job to ensure that the CIA was operating in a manner representing the American people. And the CIA was literally giving them the middle finger, telling them, you're not authorized to hear this. You're not authorized to hear this. You don't have enough clearance. And so the church committee was stood up. And I can't remember the name of the senator that was basically, he was over it. He's like, we're taking all of your dirty laundry and you're airing it all in front of the American public. And while that committee lasted a while, they did their things. One of the interesting facts that came out of it was a little operation called Operation Mockingbird. What's super interesting about Project Mockingbird is this goes back to the early 50s, where the CIA was using their leverage and the tools the tools of their Crade draft to identify targets, specifically within domestic and international, news outlets, be it over the radio, television, or print, right? And recruit them into, not the CIA specifically, but recruit them as sources. And as a source, the CIA would then use them to push their propaganda and their message and ensure certain things were not discussed or aired, so that they can kind of keep a wrap on certain things the American people were going to be aware of or not aware of, right?
Right.
Some of this stuff was done, through bribes, right? Like, hey, station chief of, local, CXP, whatever, we'll give you 10 grand a month just to ensure that these things happen. Station chief is going to be like, in the 76, be like, I'll take 10 grand a month. Let's go. Just to help, I'm going to be a true American patriot. I'm working right with the CIA to ensure, that America is a safer place. And I'm also going to get $10,000 a month for it. Right? That's how it looks. And then you have some people that don't want to comply. And when you don't comply with the CIA, you are suddenly disappeared.
Yeah.
And people don't want to be disappeared.
No.
And so people will begrudgingly kind of fall into this trap. So that started. So that was aired in 76. They started doing it in 53. And the CIA, Zach, but don't worry, Zach, the CIA promised they would stop. They're like, here, Mr. Abenhauser, we're going to stop. You've asked us politely, and we're going to go ahead and just do exactly as you asked.
Yeah. We'll figure it out another way, right? So, and that kind of makes sense, because you have to ask yourself how CNN has even stayed in business, because their ratings have been trash for the last 4 years. I mean, trash for a news network, I mean, I think some of their shows are getting, 100,000 views during their prime time. And that's, I mean, Tucker Carlson was getting, when he was with Fox, 7 million views per episode. I mean, and, I still don't understand why Fox let him go, but, it is what it is. I think he just outperformed Joe Rogan.
Podcast wise, yeah, he is.
And I mean, Joe Rogan had like 90 million views on a couple of his. So
yeah.
So yeah,
for
like,
what it's worth, you like if you look at Twitch. So Twitch.tv is like is a game streaming website. So if you're a video gamer, you can buy some equipment and then basically broadcast you playing a video game with like your webcam kind of superimposed on top of the gameplay footage. You just get a little mic and just talk about and be entertaining while you're playing a video game. And other people can then go to Twitch.tv and watch you play the video game and comment on your stuff. Okay. There are individual Twitch.tv streamers, as they're called, whose single streams will outperform CNN, right? They will pull hundreds of thousands of viewers. These people playing very popular games, being silly while doing so, and they're outperforming CNN. It's
you have to ask yourself, how are they keeping the lights on at CNN, right? Probably the fucking CIA, Big Pharma, one of the two. maybe they're all the same. I don't know.
And this is not to say at least as I hear Zach say this is not a left or right thing. This is not, we're not trying to say like, hey, CNN represents the left and therefore the left and their message is corroding. That's not it at all. It's just the CNN they're just regularly becoming more and more disingenuous, not only to themselves, but to the people that are watching them, right? We understand CNN to carry a more left-leaning message, but that message is just getting harder and harder to extrapolate with all the malarkey that they're airing. Like for a really good example was when we were talking about the water tower shoot. We saw the people were giving their testimony, their witness accounts to these anchors saying, "Hey, we saw this stuff happening." CNN shut it down to crowd the gate. They didn't air anything. I think Fox is the only outlet that actually aired any of those people saying those things.
I think so. And, I want to reiterate, too, CNN was my primary news source when me and Jesse met back in 2010. It was my primary news source.
We had it playing in the shop. I think it was 24/7, right?
All the time. I would always have that on. It drove people nuts because they wanted to watch music videos or something.
Right.
But I was like, it's a workplace. We're going to watch news. It's way more professional.
Yeah. Somehow we got away with that. Little did they know that was what we were going to watch anyway. So
it's my reality TV. Like my wife has the Kardashians. I have news.
Yes, and they're about as genuine.
They're the same thing. Kardashians might be more valuable.
Probably. But it's not just CNN. That we can really talk here. There was a lot of big tech collusion kind of went into the assassination attempt as well, right? So if Zach and I were doing this live, so if everybody's listening, up until recently, if you were to go to google.com and you were to type for anything relating to like assassination attempt, the auto suggestions. So when you go to google.com, just to kind of like, paint the picture here, you go to google.com, you're presented with a search bar, you can type in something you're interested in. And as you're typing in that thing, Google will offer you suggestions on what you should look for. Like, hey, are you thinking about this or this or this or this? So it kind of jogs your memory, kind of helps you get to where you want to be. It's the whole point of it. It also makes your searching go more quickly. What's really interesting is when you would type in assassination attempt up until the morning of July 29th, you would get results like suggestions rather, assassination attempt on Truman, on presidents, on Hitler, Reagan, anything else but Donald Trump. It would not suggest to you that Donald Trump was assassinated. Okay,
I'm pretty positive the Google algorithms try to get you the freshest information as the first ones. Like I put any search into Google, and it's usually 2 to 3 days old at the latest.
Oh yeah.
And so like Trump's literally been shot within the last 2 weeks, and you can't find it doesn't automatically just go as soon as you put ass into the fucking Google search. Like that should be the number one thing that it's like, oh, that's what this person's looking for. Like these are some really smart people at Google that really do a good job on their algorithms. This was not. It was intentional.
It was 100% intentional. And I can tell you it was intentional because it had impacts in other products. As I was writing this, so basically, like, I have like this script that I'm kind of reading from. I'm collecting all my notes, and I was collecting all my notes in Google Drive, and I would go in. I'm not the best speller, and I regularly rely on spell check to help me get through my day of typing. Okay, I misspelled assassination, and I misspelled it with a very common misspelling of assassination. I missed one of the S's, one of the 4 S's in assassination. I omitted. I forgot to put it in there. And Google Docs rightly identified that the word was misspelled. And when I hovered over the red squiggly underline indicating that the word was misspelt, it had no suggestions for me. It had no idea.
Not one.
It had no idea what the word was or what I might want to do with it. All it knew is that the word might be misspelled. It did not offer me an autocorrect to assassination. Very, very strange. Very, very strange. It's a very damning piece of evidence there. Yeah. Also, Zach, when you would eventually, we did this, we tested this ourselves.
Yeah.
If you went to google.com up until I think it was even up until as late as the 1st
of August. A couple
days
ago, yeah.
Yeah, and you typed in Donald Trump, what you would get, all right, you would get Donald Trump, and you'd get 2 buttons. You could see an overview of Donald Trump or the education of Donald Trump. And then right below that, in the very next pane, is something called Top Stories. And the results were news about Harris. Donald Trump. Yeah. The first thing that they wanted to feed you was news about Kamala Harris, followed by then Donald Trump. Yeah. Do the inverse. Go to google.com. You type in Kamala Harris. You're not greeted with the same response. In Kamala's page, okay, you have both the overview and education that you found with Donald Trump, but with her, you also get history. You get a history button. To suggest that Donald Trump doesn't have a history, whether you like the guy or not, he's definitely got a history.
Yeah.
Google straight up omitting that from the search results. And when you go down to the top stories, it was just Kamala Harris. She did not share that section with Donald Trump. This is not just random irks and coincidences of the algorithm. This is engineering change. This is human manipulation upon the system to ensure certain results are omitted and certain views are presented. And that's what we're seeing there. And this all came to light over X over the last few days. And they have since been rolling those changes back. But we caught it. There's enough of us who are paying attention. And I have screenshots, and they're going to be you guys will have access to it in the description. But there are screenshots to show all this stuff that actually happened. And so I guess to the listener, you just have to figure out if you trust us or not. And we're just 2 average guys. We're not here with an agenda. We're not running for election. The only thing that randomly, Zach and I agree on a lot of the things that we're talking about here. But we both want what's best for the country. We both want to see a democratically elected president. We want to see democratically enacted, laws and policies in a way that represent American people and ourselves, right? So that's just who we are in general. Facebook, by the way, was also culpable. They were also doing, once again, back in the manipulation game. If you were to ask the Meta AI to tell me about the assassination attempt on Trump, it would give you a result that said, and I just quote this exactly, "I can't assist with that. I don't always have access to the most up-to-date information. Can I help you with anything else?" Okay, that makes sense. AI, it takes time. You got it. It takes time for information to get into a massive language model and then have it be understood to such a degree that it can articulate some sort of response back to you. It does take time. But if you typed in Kamala Harris, tell me about Kamala Harris's campaign for president in 2024, which happened days after the assassination of Trump.
Weeks. It had after, I believe.
Yeah. Well, how many days?
Weeks.
Weeks after. It had no problem returning Kamala Harris 2024 presidential campaign information, such as the announcement that Kamala Harris announced her 2024 presidential campaign on July 21st, 2024, after President Joe Biden withdrew his bid for the re-election and endorsed her. And it goes on and on from there.
Yeah.
Clear indication that Meta was also messing with results. It's crazy.
It is. We're
right back to where we were so many years ago.
Like Jesse's been saying, we don't have an agenda here. We're just conversating about something that happened that, with everything moving at warp speed in politics and everything else, we want to get it documented. We want to really dive deep into this subject because this is honestly why the podcast got created in the first place.
It was.
Jesse sent me a text message. He's like, what the fuck? We need to talk about this. I was like, let's do it. And inevitably this is what happened. This is why we're here right now. So Jesse, incredibly more left-leaning than I am. I'm incredibly more right-leaning than he is, but we're both moderates. We can sit down and we can have a conversation, and we both thoroughly enjoy having conversations about weird, difficult subjects. Shouldn't be that hard for the rest of the world to do something like that either, but apparently it is. I guess what I'm trying to get at here is that this is not a go elect Trump speech. This is there's a clear and present danger from our government meddling in election interference, and that's something in future podcasts we're going to dive deep into is election interference, Kamala Harris's podcasts, that kind of, Kamala Harris's campaign, that kind of stuff, but we were going to do multiple topics on this specific episode, but Jesse dove deep into this, and we just decided, screw it. This is what we're going to cover today. And I think that us giving the time and respect to cover this topic and to give a little bit of background, how many presidents did you find that they had done something similar to this on? It was like JFK, Nixon, they've got Project Mockingbird. You got a laundry list of things.
Reagan was the most recent, but Reagan wasn't necessarily a CIA thing, but he was the most recent assassination attempt
that we know of. I mean, Lincoln was a Democrat. Yeah, John Wilkes Booth, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that was one of the first ones, at least to the GOP, because Lincoln created the GOP. So
I think, just doubling down on this, right? We, to me, why this is so important is we have meddling happening behind the scenes to such a degree that Trump was almost removed from the presidential race kinetically. Somebody did not want Trump running. Yeah. I think what it really came down to is that they didn't want Trump winning the election. That's what it really was. They didn't want him to become president again. They don't care if he lives or dies. They just want to make sure that he's not president again. All of their tactics that they used in 2020 will not work again. The systems that were manipulated have been patched. There's too many people that are aware of the inconsistencies that happened in 2020. So there's too many eyes looking at those processes. So they have to do something else. And with Biden becoming kind of like, slowly losing cognitivity powers, right? Somebody had to step up, and it was going to be Trump, right? There's no way Biden was going to successfully win an election against Trump. He couldn't even debate the guy. It was just not going to work well. It was not going to go well. And so now we have this assassination attempt that comes out of nowhere. Yeah. And the message that I want to really relay to you, go do your research. You can look at all the links that we've provided here that really suggest that there's something much more devious going on here that people aren't talking about. The people that want to take out Trump, want to make sure that Kamala Harris is elected. All right. I'm not sure why Kamala. Maybe easy target for them to manipulate and to control. I have no idea.
I don't know that they could find anybody else that would run against Trump this time around because they just know it's pointless. Trump, blood on his face, fist in the air. That was, hey, you just won. You just like have the election today. Let's get on with our lives.
Meaning that these people are anti-democratic. They don't represent you. They have a sense of control that is not theirs to have. I do not like these people. I do not like what they represent. And if they want Kamala Harris to be president, then they clearly don't want Trump to be president.
Yeah.
The enemy of your enemy.
Yeah.
So regardless of what you think about Trump, he is ultimately the thing that they're trying to keep from power. And they're trying to do it by any means possible. And if that doesn't warrant your vote, then I'm not sure what would.
Yeah. You obviously care about something other than, what common sense should dictate you should care about, living in a free and fair country.
Yeah. I mean, by all means, be, super democratic, be super, on the left, be super blue, right? Raise your flag as you will. But at the end of the day, you only get the ability to do so because you have the democratic process that you can engage in. And if suddenly people are trying to take that away from us, then regardless of what you believe, it doesn't matter, right? It does not matter at all. And we're going to talk about Kamala in the next episode. But imagine this person went from nobody to the forerunner of the DNC. In a couple
overnight.
Overnight.
It was overnight.
Go Google right now anything bad about Kamala Harris. She's been vice president for 3.5 years. She's been massively unpopular, not because she's not like a bad person. She's not.
She had a lower approval rating than Biden did, and he's a vegetable.
Right. Again, not trying to say Kamala is a bad person. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying she wasn't popular. And now she is suddenly super popular and the savior to the American people.
I mean, they got pictures of her filling stadiums, Yeah, it's a Meg Stallion.
Meg the Stallion. She's
Stallion.
Badass. Now that, I'd vote for Meg the Stallion.
Well, she filled the stadium, and then 15 minutes after she left the stage, everybody else did too. So
yeah. Absolutely insane. I can't actually wait for the next episode because we are going to dive deep into Kamala Harris. I'm doing a bunch of research behind the scenes just to prepare for the conversation because I don't know a lot about her because there's not a lot to know about her other than she's like, the VP. But it's going to be interesting. It's going to be really, really interesting.
Yeah. I'm excited about this. The whole process. I'm excited to jump into Kamala Harris. I'm excited to jump into the election interference that we've been seeing. I mean, and this is what drove me right into the arms of Donald Trump, just seeing the election interference that happened starting back in 2017, 2018, right around in there, right into it. I wasn't a fan, and until the assassination, I wasn't like a hardcore Trump supporter. I could be like, yeah, whatever. But now I'm like, dude, no, that's, what do you need me to do? Do you need me to go knock door to door? Do you start a podcast? Like, I'll do it right now. This, that has changed something for me. And it is a very unifying message that we are seeing third world country election interference in our first world country, supposedly first world country, that shouldn't be happening. Yep. We shouldn't see lawfare. We shouldn't see assassination attempts,
No. Yeah, here we are.
And I'm just glad that they're both incompetent, and visibly incompetent as well.
I am really worried, though. I'm not gonna lie. I am really, really worried that Trump's not out of hot water, man. Like, just they took the shot. No. They missed.
Yeah,
they could try again. It's whatever.
He's dodging bullets for 4.5 years.
He's gonna have to keep dodging them.
He's dodging bullets for 4.5 years.
There's just no way, man.
If that bullet dodge was, a miracle, if that was God's work, I hope he's drinking his coffee and ready to work some overtime because they are not going to stop on that.
I would be I would be super surprised if there's not another very public attempt on his life before November. Like, I'm just saying, there's just no way, because these people aren't going to just stop. Try again is the motto.
I've heard, 30 days. I heard that, within a month they'd be doing it again. So maybe we'll see something in 10 days.
Yeah.
Who
I mean,
knows?
there's other ways to go about this too. So here's what's really interesting. They did something very public. This was a very, very public stunt, right? They ensured that people like CNN were airing it live. They wanted everybody to see that this lone gunman, Thomas Crooks, took this 472-foot iron sight shot and hit him right in the face. And we saw his brains, just like JFK, right, just go all over the place. That's what they wanted. Yeah. They wanted that to be the case. They could have so easily poisoned the dude, right? They could have hit him, they could have been an accidental car crash. They could have Princess died this dude. There's a million ways the CIA could take out an individual. And there are all the clandestine methods you could possibly imagine. And this is the route they went. So they wanted it to be public for some reason. Yeah. And it totally backfired. Now, if they don't take him out, he will become the president. Because they can't elect, they can't meddle in the elections that we did last time. Facebook is basically saying that, I'm sorry, I know we kind of helped you out last time to ensure that Donald Trump's name was run through the mud. We're not going to do it this time. So I think they're backtracking on all of the policies that they had. So what else do they have? Yeah. It's not looking good.
It's not looking good. Well, I mean, it's looking great if you want Donald Trump to be president. It's not looking good if you don't want him. And you look at possible reasons as to why all of this is even necessary in the first place. And it's got to be because Trump legitimately wants to make a better country for his grandchildren. I mean, you can tell that guy loves his grandchildren. I mean, you really can tell. He wants to leave a better world and a better America for future generations. And when you've got billions of dollars and a supermodel wife and a golf course in your backyard, obviously you can't be corrupted. They can't buy you. Trump has everything he wants, everything he needs. He's doing this specifically for a reason. And you see that with him being 81 years old and not relaxing on his estate,
Right.
If I was as rich and set up like Trump, you wouldn't catch me outside of a library, man, with computer access and internet. That's where I'd be.
Right. This is taking a lot of us. This has taken a lot of us by surprise. I'm one of them, because I, up until J13, was completely anti-Trump. I had no problem casting another vote for Biden. As long as Trump was not elected, we're good. I was very much of the opinion that the election of Donald Trump in 2024 would spell it could be the end of the democratic process in the United States, right? Because who knows, maybe this guy wants to become a dictator. He wants to do away with presidential terms, all of these things. We talk about it, or I should say, left-leaning news agencies talk about it all the time, the reasons why we don't want him elected. And I was like, yeah, I totally agree, right? Like, this is crazy. Yeah. This goes all the way back to his response on COVID. Again, being a left-leaning person, consuming left-leaning, media, COVID was super serious. We should be isolating, wearing masks, doing our best to get, inoculated, taking the vaccine, all those things, right? I believed it all. And Trump was like, you guys are psycho. Like, yes, we should protect ourselves. Yes, we need to go do work to ensure that we're, inoculated from anything, right? We need to take common precautions, but this is too insane. Like, what you're proposing we do for COVID doesn't make any sense. You don't want people to go to church. You're going to arrest people for going to church.
Yeah.
Jesse circa 2016 would be like, of course, or 2019 rather.
They're singing. They're singing in they're spreading it everywhere.
Spreading the virus. They're going to go get themselves or somebody else hurt. And so if you're going to hurt somebody else, either on purpose or by accident, or out of ignorance, yes, it's a crime, right? So that was my thought process. So yes, we would want to. I'm not saying these guys, they're not criminals, but they need to understand how important it is to not do those things. But now I don't see it the same way. I don't know how I see it. I'm actually so internally conflicted because my worldview has been shattered, and I have to go. I consider myself a smart person, and I like to look at data and facts before I make any sort of decisions. And so I have so much to go over. I have 10 years of history now that I have to go re-review because I thought I understood everything. but there's something I don't understand. I
And
don't
this
know
is
where the
why
answer is.
I'm so excited about the election interference thing, because we're going to be able to rehash some of our old conversations, our old arguments, and it's going to be amazing. I'm going to love seeing the light just turn on in your eyes, and you're like, holy fuck, it was right there.
Yeah. I'll tell you this. So let's just briefly, just my own story, right? When it comes to like COVID, the whole COVID vaccine thing. Did you get a vaccine?
Yeah, they were talking about shutting down the interstates. Biden was all over the news, and my wife, 14-hour drive from me out in North Dakota.
Right.
And so with them talking about shutting down the freeway system, I was like, well, I mean, I need to get back and be able to see my girlfriend at the time. I'm not going to be doing that. So I just went down and got it. And it's probably, one of the few things I actually regret in my life, following blindly idiots.
Yes, I am in the same boat as you. And so we were told as intelligent, left-leaning, democratic wielding, people that
responsible people
that yes, we're responsible. We're going to go take the vaccine, right? Ivermectin is a horse dewormer, right?
Yeah.
That's what ivermectin is, Jesse and Zach. You be smart about this. Go get your mRNA vaccine. So I did.
Yeah.
Didn't really even dig into ivermectin at all because I was told that only it was used as a horse dewormer. And so why would I be taking horse medication? That doesn't make any sense. And so when I was hearing like Joe Rogan talking about, ivermectin, I was like, oh, great. Now Joe Rogan's, he's off the deep end. He's off in this conspiracy land, whatever. So I went and I got it. I got the mRNA vaccine. I think the Pfizer one. 2 days after that, I was in the ER because I had an allergic reaction to shellfish or to fish that I had never had in my life. I live and breathe seafood. My wife loves it. We had it all the time. I was in the ER because I literally had some sushi and my face started swelling up, right? And I looked terrible. My wife raced me into the ER. They started just pumping me full of antihistamines to calm down the reaction. But that was 2 days after the vaccine. I will have now life. So far, I still have the same effects. If I get bit by a mosquito or like a flea or something like that, like I don't get a little welt. I get a big welt. It looks bad and they're massively painful. It's horrible. It's all after that fucking vaccine.
Yeah. And when they first start, this isn't a podcast about vaccine. No. This is just a random tangent that we're going on right now. We probably should. I mean, it would be
we will.
Episode.
We will. Yeah.
I mean, we're going to make a list, and I mean, me and Jesse, we enjoy conversating about this kind of stuff. But anyways, they started out with that vaccine and it was like 100% efficacy. By the time, everybody started like being disillusioned with this stuff, they were down to like a 20% efficacy on this thing. And then when they go to get sued in court, right? They just say, the government ordered this. This is what the government wanted. We just provided them with a product that the government wanted. We didn't know that it actually worked or didn't work. We didn't do testing on it. We just gave them something. So, I mean, that's pretty astounding to me that the United States of America even allowed something like this to happen, that science, old Fauci science himself, would allow something like this to happen. So I think that's a great podcast episode that we could dive into. I mean, we got a lot of evidence, and it's something that, people still think about on occasions. So
let me leave you with this abstract. Okay. So this is written in 2011. So many years before ivermectin was kind of run through the streets by Fauci and his cronies. And the reason why the reason why I'm saying this is because if you're like me and you heard the word ivermectin and anybody preaching it, you would have immediately written them off as conspiratorial, right? Anti-American, not doing their due diligence, trying to get away with not taking the vaccine. That's what I would think. Like Zach and I had this conversation. I was like, "Go fucking take your horse to warmer, man." Like I don't, like you silly bastard. Like don't talk to me about it. But here we go. So I'll just read this, and this is what we're going to get into probably at some point. But so ivermectin was discovered in the late 1970s, a pioneering drug, some very big word, originating solely from a single microorganism isolated in Tokyo from Japanese soil, has had an immeasurably beneficial impact in improving the lives and welfare of billions of people throughout the world. Originally introduced as a veterinary drug, it kills a wide range of internal and external parasites in commercial livestock and companion animals. It was quickly discovered to be ideal in combating two of the world's most devastating and disfiguring diseases, which have plagued the world's poor throughout the tropics for centuries. It is now being used free of charge as the sole tool in campaigns to eliminate both diseases globally. It has also been used to successfully overcome several other human diseases, and new uses for it are continually being found. Remember, this is written in 2011.
Yeah.
So this drug has basically won somebody the world's peace prize, right?
Yeah, something like that.
It's just gone on and on for being just this amazing drug. So that is what ivermectin is. Don't listen to what people are saying today.
Yeah. When I first heard about it back in 2021, maybe Joe Rogan was talking about it. A couple other people have been talking about it. I think I'd heard about it before Joe Rogan's podcast, but it is a malaria drug, I believe, right? It's used very successfully to handle malaria. And they're even talking about how right now it's probably going to be a good cure for cancer. Because a lot of cancers are coming from internal parasites, is what some of the more recent research and studies I've seen lately. I could be full of shit though, so don't take medical advice from me.
Yeah, this it's called, I can't even pronounce it. Onchocerciasis or something like that. That's one of the OCP is one of the things that it's been dealing with, that it deals with basically for free, along with some other things. But your point is valid though.
Yeah,
I can't wait to dig into it. Anyway, I think that wraps up pretty much everything.
I think so.
Across today, right?
Yeah. I don't even know how long we've been talking. 2 hours almost.
Hour and a half.
Yeah. Okay, that's pretty good.
Yeah. No, it's fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, man.
Well, I guess we're doing our next podcast tomorrow, right? Because this one's late because of technical difficulties, me needing a new mic, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
So
everybody who's listening, if you made it this far, we actually shot the original podcast a few days ago. Yeah. I had massive technical difficulties that I didn't realize I was having until after the podcast. Turns out that I only shot and recorded the video of the podcast for myself for the first 30 minutes, and then the camera just died. Had no idea. And then there was just crazy audio issues that I would later encounter. And we just had to do it again. And this is, by the way, for what it's worth, this podcast, this conversation is a bazillion times better than the other one.
It is. 100% it is better. It is better.
We're still trying to fill this thing out.
Yeah. I mean, it's our first real podcast, you know? I mean, it's our first real episode.
Yeah, it is.
The last one was just us sitting around bullshitting.
We're going to have more of those.
On the fly, too. I mean, we literally sat down and you were like, turn on your Discord. Let's record. Let's go. Let's do this. And I was like, I'm game. Let's go. So, I mean, it was fly by the seat of our pants. So if you like the pilot, you know, that's just us. That's just a regular conversation between Jesse and Zach.
Yeah. And again, we encourage you guys to get involved too. So if you're listening to this and you have comments, questions,
please
concerns, just put them in the description. And
if you got something you want us to dig into,
talk about it.
Let's go. I would love.
Oh man, yeah. Give us your best. Give us your favorite conspiracy theories, your favorite political avenues, whatever you want to talk about. We'd love to dig into it. Especially would appreciate it. The more people that come on my side and just think Zach's a hack, the better.
And I believe me and Jesse have talked about this, but we're talking about bringing some of our friends on, some people that we can get on and just, you know, talking with them about what matters to them, something that because sometimes people do a lot of research into one thing that they're passionate about, and why wouldn't we want to talk to somebody who's delved thousands of hours into one topic? So
all right, man.
Yeah,
I say we leave it there.
I think that's it.
All right, thanks everybody. See you, Zach.
Yep. See you later, Jesse.